My name is Adam Turkington. I run Seedhead Arts. One of the things that we do is the street art walking tour. Because we are reopening up after COVID, the tourist board asked me to do a short film to sort of give you a taster of the sort of things that you can expect on the street art tour. There'll be a couple of melters along the way, guaranteed. So we're going to start in the black box, which is where we normally finish the tour. The tour, we've been running for about 3 years. It's kind of we run a street art festival in Belfast called Hit the North, and we know, kind of all the stories behind all the pieces. And it was really a question of wanting to do the tour because I didn't want somebody else doing it and getting it wrong. So we run every Sunday at noon, and we're restarting again this coming Sunday the 19th, after a few months off for COVID. We're operating at a reduced capacity and people are free to wear masks or whatever, but we can socially distance on the street. And as an outside event, it's obviously easy enough and pretty low risk, we feel. Sorry, this is going to be a lo-fi kind of video. We're just doing it on my phone, but like the tour itself is very much a kind of lo-fi, a bit of punk aesthetic is what we'll talk about a lot, and about wanting to kind of show Belfast's alternative culture, and talk about the kind of underrepresented tradition in Belfast of people who sit outside our normal two traditions, which is very much what we talk about a lot on the tour. Look, I'm going to take you through a few pieces that are on the tour. There's probably well over 60 or 70 pieces on the tour. I'm going to talk about 5 today. So there's plenty more to see. And as I say, we'll be running every Sunday from at noon. So this piece has a slightly naughty word in it. It's called Rembrandt with Small Hole, and this is that hole there. So this is by an artist called Pang. It was painted at the 2016 Hit the North Festival, and you can see this is like a portrait of Rembrandt, but not just that, it's done in the style of Rembrandt. I'm sorry, it's really important to say that everything that you see on the tour is aerosol, so it's street art. It's not, we don't do any of the Northern Irish murals. All right, we don't do any of the Northern Irish murals. We don't do the paramilitary stuff. We only do kind of contemporary kind of street art stuff that originates and has its roots in Brooklyn, New York in the late 1970s. But this is a spray piece which is designed to look like brushwork. So you can see, even though this is done with spray, it's very much designed to look like it was painted almost by Rembrandt, like a self-portrait. And then we have this guy in the bottom right-hand corner who's coming in and painting over the Rembrandt. So it's really a commentary on how we value art. Why we paint over some and then some are in galleries in the Wright Museum or something like that. I should really have had a drink of water before this, but anyway. So look, this is where we finish the tour. This is on the side of the black box. This is called The Jewel of Belfast, Dance by Candlelight. There's Rory's behind the camera. Keep focus on the art. I think you don't need to see me. This is Conor Harrington would have painted this for the Cathedral Quarter Arts Festival in 2012, and there's a few other stories about this piece which I go into in the tour, which I haven't really planned for here. But the main thing is this piece is about Conor's work is all about the decline of empire and the futility of macho nonsense. Here we have two guys fighting over the carcass of a dead animal, while this black guy looks on in the background, and everything's decaying and falling apart, and a little paint's running, and everything's like coming apart at the seams. But these two guys are too busy fighting over this kind of useless carcass to realize that the world is falling apart around under their feet, which is the perfect metaphor for Northern Ireland and Belfast as far as I'm concerned. And it's also on the side of the Black Box, which for my money is the most significant and important arts organisation in the city, a real important place to put on your schedule if you're coming to visit Belfast. Right, very quickly then, if we're gonna walk around the corner to another piece. So this is a piece called Deep Love, which is by an artist from Dublin called ADW. This is a stencil piece, and you can see texturally it looks different from a lot of normal sort of regular street art. Stencil is an art form. One of the ways that street art has evolved over its 40 or 50 years is to find ways to kind of create art on the street quickly, because it's rooted in illegal activity. If you have a stencil and all the hard work is done in the studio, so you have you've cut out the stencil, it enables you to be much quicker on the street. You arrive, you stick it to the wall, and you're away before the cops get there. It's kind of, that was certainly the origins of how stencil began, and then obviously, you know, this is a bit more complex. And this is on a red brick wall. Red brick is very much a signature kind of look of Belfast, so we kind of encourage Adam to let the red bricks sing, and ADW, that is the artist, and to sort of work with that, yeah, really nice piece. Okay, we're going to go on to the next one. Okay, so this is a piece by Dan Kitchener. Dan is from Essex. He painted this at the 2016 festival. Dan's a really kind of easily identifiable artist, if you know what I mean. You can always tell a Dan Kitchener piece. His work's inspired by time that he spent in the Far East. There was actually a piece that he painted in 2017 around the corner, which unfortunately is on a building that was being demolished recently. But yeah, it's a really lovely piece, and the drips, the way he uses drips, and I don't know if you can make that out on the way the drips come off the bottom of the frame as well, is really lovely. This is like 2 days work again, and all kind of spray. Dan actually, and one of the things I think is really interesting about Dan is artists have different techniques for working to scale, because if you imagine, like if you've seen people painting, you know, and they're painting a landscape and they do this for scale, right? So you can imagine that doing that on a wall of this size is virtually impossible, you know? So people have different ways to get the scale, so they'll use gridding or sometimes even projections. But Dan doesn't do any of that. Dan just straight out of his brain onto the wall, and just the depth and the perspective that he gets in his pieces, when you bear that in mind, is really incredible. Sometimes people ask about the tag on the bottom as well. You know, it's kind of annoying, but at the same time, like, this has been on the street for like 4 years, you know. I think it's amazing that more of our pieces haven't been damaged, but it's annoying when they are, but it only takes one person to do it, and that's part of the nature of the art form. You just got to live with that a little bit. Okay, we're going to go on to the last piece we're going to look at today. Obviously it started to rain. That is part of the Belfast charm. It never rains on our tours though. It's part of our guarantee. Not really. Anyway, this is oh, somebody leaving. There you go. This piece is by an artist called MTO. MTO is from France. He painted this at our second festival in 2014, and this is called The Son of Protagoras. Protagoras is a Greek philosopher, most commonly thought to be the first recorded agnostic. The quotes would be, "I see no evidence of gods, so how do I know that they exist?" And you can see this is MTO's response to coming to Northern Ireland and you know, learning that we still have problems and there's still divisions in our society, and that those divisions are drawn along religious lines. So you can see the two arrows and the dove here The two doves represent, or the two arrows represent the two religions, and actually the arrow on the left, the symbol in that is, if you flip around, you can see that's reflected on the side of this is St Anne's Cathedral, and that's the cross there, and the boy himself is actually looking angrily at the church, and obviously the message here that is he's annoyed and losing his faith because the twin religions are killing the peace here. The other sort of story that this is very much like where we talk, there are other stories about this piece, but I'm not going to spoil it. You're going to have to come on the tour. It is actually a portrait of my son, who is Rory, who's now behind the camera. Here, you can have a look at what he looks like now. There you go. What a handsome young man. He doesn't have that hair anymore though. But anyway, this is kind of like, I'm going to stop here, and there's a bit more narrative about that we talk about. But I think it's really important to talk about just that narrative, that this narrative that we talk about on the tour is a really important narrative, and it's the idea that street art is about placemaking. It's about connecting with the city and conversations that the artists are having with the city and the inhabitants of the city, and giving us a sense, people who maybe sit outside the traditional kind of binary narrative of Northern Ireland, that like it can be a very frustrating place for people like us to live. Somebody like me who doesn't really care about religion or nationality, and I care more about quality of life and hope for the future and all that kind of stuff. It can be a very frustrating place to live when all the narratives about this place are put through that binary meat grinder. And what I always talk about on the tour is how, just like Terry Hooley and punk rock made that kind of narrative that, the famous Terry Hooley quote being, New York had the haircuts, London had the trousers, but Belfast had the reason. There's a lot to be pissed off about here, a lot to be angry about here, and there's a lot to kick out about here. So there's a really kind of vibrant anti-establishment culture, and there's a real kind of vibrant anti-establishment art scene here, and circus, which we passed earlier, and street art and music and lots of other things all just kind of fit into that, and make Belfast a place that I'm proud to come from and really, really happy to live in. It's that gives me a sense of meaning and a sense of belonging and a sense of place about the city. But look, enough of me rambling. Come and hear me talk if you're anyway interested in some of the stuff you've seen. And like I said, there's probably close to another 100 pieces that you'll see on the tour. Please come and join us one Sunday at noon, and you can buy our tickets through the Black Box, which is where we started. Their website, sell our tickets because they're the best. See you soon.